Hey y'all, today I'm at Sumac Cemetery in Crandall, Georgia, and I wanted to share a story about a local family that lived in this area in the 1940s. William Shakespeare once said, "Truth will come to sight. Murder cannot be hid long." And such is the case of Mark Pulliam. His wife Winnie Pulliam and 5 of her 8 children were found dead in a house fire in the Sumac community in early November 1942. Will Walraven was the first witness on the scene, and he realized something was not right when he saw what he thought was blood in the yard, on the front steps of the home, and on the mattress that held Winnie's body. George Baxter and Fred Blankenship were next to arrive at the scene, and they agreed that something wasn't adding up, and they sent for the sheriff. Shortly thereafter, Mark Pulliam Sr., husband of Winnie, was arrested at his logging job in Rocky Face and charged with murder. Mr. Pulliam's alibi was that each weekend he spent with his family in Chatsworth, and during the week he stayed with a sister in Dalton, and commuted from there to his job in Rocky Face. Mr. Pulliam claimed that he knew nothing of the tragedy until he was told by the authorities. He said that he had been at home with his family Sunday night, and that Winnie had gotten up at 3 a.m. to fix him breakfast before he left. The authorities questioned Miss Moore, the next-door neighbor, and she claimed that she had been at the Pulliam home on Sunday night visiting Winnie, and that Mark wasn't there. Mr. Pulliam's brother claimed that Mark came to his house on Monday morning, asking for a ride to work. It was then that Mark's alibi began to unravel quickly, as deputies began to explore events that found out that Mark Pulliam had been keeping company with his mistress, Miss Della Mae Hall of Dalton. When the authorities had questioned her, she admitted that she had spent Friday and Saturday night in Chattanooga with Mark, and they had returned home on Sunday. She stated that she hadn't seen Mark since 8 p.m. Sunday night. Miss Hall was arrested on Monday and charged with being an accessory to the crime. During the trial, Moselle, who was 14 years old at the time, stated, "Pa was always beating Ma, especially after she found out that he was going over to Dalton to see Della Hall, and more than once he said that he would kill us all." The trial began in 1943 in the Murray County Courthouse. Testimonies and arguments by both attorneys lasted for 3 days. The jury deliberated for 6 hours, and they convicted Mark Pulliam of the murder of his wife Winnie. He was immediately sentenced to life imprisonment. Della Hall was released from jail with no charges. During the trial, they had found out that Mark had procured life insurance on his children, totaling $2,400. Mark and Della had went to the insurance office early that Sunday to pay the insurance premiums on the children. Mark had also purchased chloroform from a local physician, stating he needed it to shoe his mules. Mark did not own any mules. Mark chloroformed 5 of his children, butchered his wife with a clasp knife, and set fire to the place in hopes that the evidence would be destroyed. The Chatsworth Times noted the names of the victims as being Miss Winnie Pulliam, 36, Alvy Jean, 11, Catherine, 9, Martha, 7, and Wayne and Worth, who were 3-year-old twins. The entire group was buried in a single casket. 3 children were not present at the house during the time of the tragedy. Moselle, 14, Lovell, 5. They were visiting their maternal grandparents, Mr. and Mrs. John Charles, in Gordon County. The eldest child was Mark Jr. He was 16. He was at work at the sawmill at the time. I don't have the details on the year that Mark T. Pulliam was released from prison, but I do know that he got remarried to Lucille Pulliam. Mark and Lucille are both buried at West Hill Cemetery in Dalton, Georgia. This story has left me with lots of questions. The biggest question is, why didn't he get charged with the murder of his children? Or how was he able to get out of jail so he could get remarried and live a long life? He passed away at 63 years old. I don't know. Y'all tell me, do you think justice was served? So I'm going to leave us with a quote. "Only time and tears take away grief. That is what they are for." So it's true. When all is said and done, grief is the price we pay for love. I will not say do not weep, for not all tears are evil. The weird thing about devastating loss is that life actually goes on. Thank you all so much for watching. God bless.